Vena Jones-Cox. Okay, so I just want to share in about 5 minutes a case study on a deal that is going to sound really familiar to you once you get to the end of the evening this evening. And the reason that I volunteered to step up and do this tonight was that when I heard that Chris was coming and what he was going to be talking about, I thought, oh yeah, I've done that. And then I thought, oh, people should know that it actually works here in Cincinnati, Ohio. So this is a property that it's actually at 3 townhouses, and I'll show it to you in a second. For those of you who are familiar with the west side of town, they are on West 8th Street, which is in the middle of the Incline District, which is an area that the city keeps trying to treat it like it's Hyde Park, but in reality, there's still a fair number of crack houses there in the Incline District, but someday, really, someday, it's going to be really awesome. But right now what it is it's a good rental neighborhood. It is 3, like I said, 3 separately deeded properties, 2 2-bedrooms and a 3-bedroom on the end. All of the properties were occupied when the seller first called us, but they were not all paying. The end unit had not paid rent in about 6 weeks and was not evicted, which was one of the reasons that the seller was very frustrated with his management company. But the theoretical gross rents had all 3 been paying, was $1,875 a month, and although it was occupied, it did need some money put into it just to stabilize it. The owner was an out-of-town owner who bought the properties as turnkey rentals. So he thought, I'm buying houses that don't need any work. And after he bought them, he put about another $20,000 or $25,000 into them in work. And he had just been notified by the wonderful City of Cincinnati Building Department, who is out there for all of our protection and safety, that they had driven by his property and decided it needed some more work. So this is a picture of the 3 of them. They're very basic. On the inside, they were very basic price sold rental units. This is moving faster than I need it to be. More tenant-proofed than pretty, right? Ceramic in the bath and the kitchen, but that's because tenants can't beat up ceramic, not because this is like the best ceramic tile in the whole world. And they all 3 basically looked much like this. So out-of-town owner bought the properties on an eBay auction. Never saw them, never drove by them, just took the word of the person who was selling them on eBay that they were in fact in turnkey condition. He was frustrated with his property manager for having somebody in one of the units who had not paid rent in 6 weeks and had never been filed on, and for other reasons, and also by these city orders, which again, these were just drive-by orders. The city just literally drives through neighborhoods and tries to find problems that they can charge you money for. He paid $105,000 for all 3 units together, and when he called, he said, look, I've put a bunch more money into these, but you know, I really want to make somebody a deal, so I will sell them all 3 to you for $105,000. I said, well, there's one just teeny little basic problem with that, and that is that I really, really, really know Price Hill well. Your buildings are about a mile from my office, very familiar with the rental market here, and for rented 2 bedrooms in Price Hill, I am not paying more than about $15,000 a unit. So 45 would be more where I would be coming in, and I'm sure that would not work for you. And he said, well, why don't you go take a look at them? Because I think they're maybe a lot better than you think they are. And I said, no, you don't understand. I'm assuming they're pristine at $15,000 a piece. If they're not anything less than pristine, the number goes down. The number is not going up. So he said, well, look, I could take an offer of like $65,000. And I said, well, I can't pay 65. I can pay 45, but at least now I'll go look at them. I mean, you're showing enough flexibility that I'll go see what we have here. Took a look at them, saw exactly what I expected to see, called him back. I said, I am in fact at $45,000. However, because you paid cash for these properties, we have an opportunity here that you might like better than $45,000 cash. I can get closer to your 65. I can't get you the 65, but I can get closer to the 65,000 if you make it easy for me by letting you make payments. And he said, well, what would that look like? And I said, well, you know how your tenants aren't making payments? it would look like that, only you would get them. Now, there would be less, I mean, the payment would be less than what you're getting, but you would have no maintenance, no taxes, no insurance, no property managers to deal with. I would do the eviction. It'd be no problem for you from here on out. And he said, well, that actually sounds pretty good, but I can't take $50,000. I could take $59,000. So this went on for a little while, and we ended up at $53,000 with $3,000 down, and the balance paid at $833.33 a month for 60 months. Now, those of you who are like autistic have already done the math, and you realize that $833.33 times 60 equals $50,000, which means that this was a loan bearing what interest rate? 0. Now, let me explain why I put the $3,000 down, because typically I try to not put a lot of money down in these deals. He was going to owe me at the closing $1,875 in deposits, plus prorated rent, plus the tax proration. So I needed to give him $3,000 at the closing so that he could give it back to me and not have to actually bring money out of his pocket to the closing, if you follow that. So here's something interesting for those of you who are flippers. I was looking at who's registered for Chris's seminar on the 23rd, and I see a lot of long-term landlords, and I don't see any flippers registered for that. You understand that just because you worked out a no money down, no interest deal in Price Hill doesn't mean you actually have to own houses in Price Hill, right? There's other things you can do other than just own the property, which might not turn you on. Didn't turn me on. So what I did was, before the closing, I went out and I found a landlord who likes to hold properties long term, and I said, boy, do I have a deal for you. You can buy all 3 of these lovely properties for just $65,700. You give me $15,000 down and I'll finance the rest. What did I just do? I flipped, except that although her loan is almost exactly, or started out almost exactly the same as mine, I paid $53, put 3 down, so my loan was 50. She paid $65,700, put 15 down, and so her balance was $50,700. I'm charging her interest. So despite the fact that our loans are the same amount, I'm actually making $195 a month off of that loan that I made to her because of the difference in the interest rates. So my point is, flippers, if you know how to do this, you can make deals happen that, by the way, make your buyers very, very happy. When you tell a buyer, oh, look, no, I don't need cash. I just need some cash up front, and then I will finance the rest. You can make your wholesale fee, and then you can also get income on top of everything else. So I did no rehab. I got $12,000 at closing, because that was the difference between my down payment and her down payment. I get $195 a month now, although that will be paying off in a couple of years, I'm sad to say. And this was all with no management. I never did any maintenance. I don't own this building, right? Somebody else pays the taxes, insurance, deals with the management, maintenance, etc. I just receive the payments and turn around and send them to the seller in Pennsylvania. So what did I learn from this deal? Number one, you can pay almost any price if the seller's flexible about the terms. If that seller had insisted on having $105,000, but he let me pay it at, $200 a month for however many months that is, probably still would have done that deal, right? The second thing is, just because you buy a deal creatively doesn't mean you have to be a landlord of that property in that area if that property and area doesn't turn you on. So that's my deal. And we've done the same deal basically probably 12 other times in the last few years. And if that's not a good enough argument to why you need to spend the entire day with Chris on the 23rd, I don't know what to tell you. So thank you very much.
Yay. All right, is that an awesome deal? Is that an awesome deal? And I know there's a lot